This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. Not far from here, the streets of Baltimore are extremely tense at this hour as sunset approaches. You're looking live there. Aerials from affiliate WJZ. National Guardsmen are now fanned out across the city. Baltimore police with riot shields, as you just saw there, on the streets. Community leaders urging an end to the violence that resulted in more than 200 arrests yesterday. At least 15 police officers were hurt. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Ed Henry's at the White House with President Obama's multi-layered response to the violence at a news conference today, but we begin with senior correspondent Rick Leventhal in Baltimore tonight. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Brett, a calmer day, and officials hope a calmer night, thanks in part to those extra boots on the ground and that 10 o'clock curfew that's set to begin this evening. But there are far too many scenes like this one in West Baltimore with buildings that were burned to the ground in a night of senseless violence. And just a couple of miles from our location, a very large demonstration taking place tonight, a very different scene than last night, with these huge crowds holding signs but marching peacefully, hoping, just like the mayor is, to set a new tone and direction for this city.
Local residents pitch in, cleaning up the mess left by rioters and opportunists who torched at least 144 vehicles and 15 buildings, looted stores, and attacked police, firefighters, and journalists with bricks, rocks, cinder blocks, and bottles. This is some of what we encountered in West Baltimore Monday night.
What matters? Who's going to protect you?
At least 20 officers were injured and more than 200 people arrested. The violence erupted soon after the funeral for Freddie Gray, who died April 19th, 1 week after having his spine partially severed while in police custody. His death is under investigation. Freddie Gray's twin sister, Frederica, says the rioting is not what her brother would have wanted.
I think the violence is wrong, and Freddie Gray wasn't no person for violence. Or Freddie Gray wasn't that type of person to break in those stores and all that. I don't like it at all.
This corner store was one of the businesses looted and burned. Randy Howell's family has owned the home next door for 50 years.
It's all burned out. So I took the hit. You know, my family took the hit, and our whole family legacy is gone. Another innocent victim.
500 Maryland National Guard troops have been deployed, along with hundreds of state and local police assisting Baltimore City cops. Thousands more soldiers and police officers are on standby.
Today, I think we saw a lot more of what Baltimore is about. We saw people coming together to reclaim our city, to clean our city, and to help heal our city. I think this can be our defining moment.
And tonight, city officials defended their initial response to yesterday's violence, saying the instigators were 14, 15, and 16-year-old kids, and the use of force just wasn't appropriate. But the fallout continues here. Tomorrow, the Orioles will play the White Sox at Camden Yards, but the game is closed to the public. It's believed to be the first time in the 145-year history of Major League Baseball that a game will be played without fans. Brett?
So, Rick, so far, a different feeling there.
Absolutely. The street's very quiet. Again, a couple of miles from that location of the protest and where the worst of the violence was yesterday. But right now, things are calm.
Okay, Rick Leventhal live in Baltimore tonight. Rick, thank you. President Obama says people looting and burning buildings in Baltimore are criminals and thugs. The president denounced that behavior today, but also said that police and society need to make some changes. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has specifics.
After waiting nearly 24 hours to offer his first comments on the riots in Baltimore, President Obama gave a 14-minute answer at a news conference in the Rose Garden, where he put the case of Freddie Gray in a broader context and tried to downplay the crisis on the ground.
What I'd say is this has been a slow-rolling crisis. This has been going on for a long time. This is not new. And we shouldn't pretend that it's new.
He was referring specifically to police interactions with young African-American males. And the president was critical by saying departments around the country need to do some soul-searching, while trying to balance that by expressing concern for the officers who were injured in Baltimore and slamming criminals for what he called senseless violence that undermines peaceful protests.
When individuals get crowbars and start prying open doors to loot, they're not protesting. They're not making a statement. They're stealing.
The president rattled off 6 different areas of broader societal problems like absentee fathers, while going light on another key ingredient, a sense of urgency about getting behind Maryland Governor Larry Hogan and other officials.
I wanted to hear what the federal government is doing to assist Governor Hogan. I wanted to hear the resources that are coming into Maryland to assist bringing a quell to this.
When the violence in Baltimore started exploding on Monday afternoon, the president was taking Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on a visit to the Lincoln Memorial. Then the president held a meeting in the Oval Office with his newly sworn-in Attorney General Loretta Lynch, but only invited in photographers and not reporters. So neither the president nor Lynch made a statement to the media urging calm as the violence got worse Monday evening. Today, the president pivoted to a pitch for his second-term legacy items, saying the real solution involves investments in job training and early childhood education.
That's hard. That requires more than just the occasional news report or task force. And there's a bunch of my agenda that would make a difference right now in that.
Now, as for a task force, the president did appoint one after Ferguson. They largely duck tough issues like what to do with body cameras because most police forces are under state or local control. Brett?
Ed Henry live in the North Lawn. Ed, thank you. Breaking news now. Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan is addressing members of the media from the State Emergency Operations Center, just talking about the executive order he's issued declaring a state of emergency. Let's listen in.
Law enforcement has been rapidly expanding. Tonight, we will have 2,000 National Guardsmen and over 1,000 law enforcement officers on duty. We have law enforcement assets from nearly every single corner of the state of Maryland, as well as other states such as Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and the District of Columbia, who have all dedicated law enforcement officers to our efforts. This combined force will not tolerate violence or looting, which has led to the destruction of property and put innocent Marylanders at risk. There have already been over 250 arrests, and a citywide curfew will take effect at 10 p.m. this evening. Maintaining law and order, protecting innocent lives and property is our #1 priority. We've also begun to assist the victims of yesterday's violence. At sunrise today, I surveyed the damage done last night and thanked law enforcement officers for their dedication. I started at the West Baltimore Precinct and the corner of Northern Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, then went on to the Mondawmin Mall. During these visits, I saw neighbors working together to restore normalcy to their neighborhoods. We have mobilized over 2,000 volunteers through the Governor's Office of Service and Volunteerism. And this morning, we moved the Governor's Office to Baltimore City, where we held a cabinet meeting where each state agency outlined their efforts to assist the Baltimore City community. Immediately following that meeting, I listened to a group of community leaders who voiced their concerns and provided input on how we can begin the long process of restoring our community. We've been here all day, and we will continue to be here until the threat of violence ends. Our primary mission, again, is to maintain order and to begin to repair the damage inflicted by the violence and looting from last night. Acts of violence and destruction of property cannot and will not be tolerated. Baltimore's families deserve peace and safety in their community. But this is far from over. I have here with me, going to turn the floor over to General Linda Singh, who's the Adjutant General of the Maryland Guard, and she's going to have a few comments. But before I do that, I just want to thank this entire team here at the Maryland Emergency Management Agency who've been working around the clock, coordinating state and local assets, and they're doing a fantastic job. So thank all of you here in the room. General Singh.
Thank you, Governor. First,
Governor Larry Hogan, Republican governor from Maryland, talking about all of the response that's going on now on the ground in Baltimore. An executive order has been signed and a state of emergency declared. The National Guard is out, and you can see some protesters there. What is being described as a more peaceful, obviously at this moment, situation on the ground in Baltimore. Community leaders, the governor saying he has talked to a number of them who have pledged to do everything they can to prevent violence in what was seen after sundown last night. We'll monitor this and bring you the latest. And up next, we will take you to the Supreme Court, where the U.S. Supreme Court considers the case about gay marriage. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Q13 Fox in Seattle with amazing video of an SUV nearly hitting 3 children trying to get on a school bus. Authorities are hoping someone will recognize the vehicle or the driver and contact police. Fox 9 in the Twin Cities with news from pediatricians that head lice should no longer keep a student from school. A report by the American Academy of Pediatrics says head lice have a low contagion within classrooms and are mostly contracted outside the school. And this is a live look at Austin, Texas from our affiliate Fox 7 out there. The big story there tonight, the death of a flight nurse who fell out of a helicopter during a rescue. Kristen McLean was hoisting an injured hiker when the accident occurred. The company has suspended all flight operations while the NTSB investigates. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.